Good evening and welcome to Rebels Radio latest interview. I'm joined by Joint Manager Neil Baker. How are you, Neil?
Very well, John. Very well.
Good. Looking forward to Saturday's game away at Banbury. Looking forward to it?
Yeah, absolutely. A little bit unknown, if I'm honest, as to what Banbury will be like. I was hoping to get up to watch them against Hitchin, but I was unable to.
They were here watching us on the Tuesday night game.
Yes, I'm led to believe. They've been pretty much put together recently since the new manager's come in and the old manager's gone. So I think there'll be a very different side to what we played earlier on in the season. They've had some unbelievable results. I mean, they drew with St Neots at home. They beat Dunstable away, which is it's a great result to win 3-2 there. And they've lost 3 on the bounce since then. So, I think it's going to be very much an unknown. We had a report back from them against when they played Cambridge City, and the guy who went to watch them, was really, really impressed with them. Thought they were a very, very good side. So the fact that they're near the bottom doesn't really count for much because they lost their first 7 games on the bounce. With the manager who's no longer there and a team that's pretty much no longer there.
Yeah, it was a hard game earlier in the season. A tough fought 2-1 victory at Holloway's. And what's the latest squad position after training tonight?
Well, we're pretty hopeful. Guy Hollis will be available for the weekend, and also Adrian Sear. I think it might still be a little bit too soon for Johnny Dyer. I mean, he got a tremendous whack against Redditch, and even up until Tuesday night he was still limping on it. So I think Saturday might come too soon, but you never know.
What's the energy like in the camp at the moment? Obviously, off the back of a decent second half performance at Cambridge, obviously a strong victory against against Hereford the other night.
Yeah, I think in general, when you get a win and or a couple of good results on the bounce, it gives everyone confidence. Sometimes it gives you a little bit too much confidence and false confidence, and all of a sudden you start thinking, oh, if only we can do this and do that, and you can sometimes get carried away with yourself. And I don't think myself and John are going to do that. We know. I think it's been shown already this season that every game is a really, really tough game. There's no gimmies. There's no games where you're just going to turn up and just walk all over the other side. So. Yeah, I mean, obviously we'd like to get on a winning run, like we did, a few weeks back where we won 3 on the bounce. Because in this league, if you can go and win 3 or 4 on the bounce, it shoots you right up the table. Because at the moment everyone's beating everyone. So, we'd obviously love to go and beat Banbury, but we know it won't be difficult. I don't think the pitch will be, one of the better pitches that we'll play on, just from what I've seen. And yeah, they're a side who sort of looking to impress and pick up points because they need them.
Looking at our squad, obviously on Tuesday night you managed to name an unchanged team for the first time in quite a while.
Yeah.
You mentioned in the interview we did earlier in the week that it may be that you give Ben Edwards a bit of a rest. He can't necessarily, his fitness can't cope with those 3 games in short succession.
Well, he did 3 games in 7 days, and that's a lot for Ben, because where Ben struggled is he's 34, and whilst that's not massively old, the way he plays his game, he gets around, he throws himself into tackles and whatever else, and he just sometimes feels his groin a little bit, his hip. So we have to, we've got to manage him really. I mean, the beauty with Ben is he's obviously on our coaching staff, so he's not one of those lads who's going to be precious and I've got to play X amount of games this season. He's quite happy sort of filling in, playing when he needs to, and I think the last 3 games have proved that he can not play for 5 or 6 months and come in and do a job for us, and that's a pretty invaluable person to have around the squad. But I don't think he'll be involved Saturday. I think we'll give him a complete rest. With his hip and back and groin in mind, really. He won't train. Oh, he didn't train tonight, and as I say, he won't won't be involved, I don't think, on Saturday.
And what's the latest with Jeffries. I mean, there seems to have been a little bit of confusion since the signing. You know, why has he come to Slough? What's the reasons? Is it fitness? Yet he was playing every game for his old team.
Yeah, it's Billy signed for us. He's a permanent signing. He won't be going back to Hampton and Richmond. Obviously, they've got a new management team come in, and we'd heard on the grapevine that that a few of the Hampton, the real hardcore Hampton boys that have been around for a few years, that he was looking to offload. I think from his point of view, it was probably an easy conversation for him to say that obviously Slough were interested, which we were. And from his club point of view, to maybe say, well, go out on a dual signing, which in theory he is, because he is still signed on with us, but and signed on with them. But Billy spoke to Dowson at the weekend, and told him that as far as he's concerned, his future's with us at Slough.
Okay, and another player who's in the team at the moment, obviously coming in and doing a job when Summers is injured, is Alex. What are your thoughts around him?
Yeah, really pleased, to be honest. He's coming. He's only a young lad. He's only 18. He's an absolute giant. It's very difficult with keepers, but I feel he's come in. He's looked solid. He's made some very good saves. I've sort of spoken to him after the game. Feel that he needs to be working on his kicking a bit. And possibly his communication. However, as I said, that's he is young, and he is playing with people he doesn't properly know yet. So he had hope that he'll develop with that. But no, we're really pleased. We've got him for 28 days. Summers isn't quite fit. His ankle's still sore. If we were pushing him, he might have been available for this weekend. But in reality, we don't have to push him now. Unfortunately, we had to play him when he was a little bit sore at Redditch, against Redditch, and he probably made it slightly worse. So yeah, we're really pleased with Alex. Really pleased that he's come in, and he's given the lads in front of him a bit of confidence, and I feel that he's we're not panicking, we're not worrying. When the ball's getting in and around the goal. So that's a positive from my point of view.
With regards to the rest of the squad news, compared to Tuesday night, is there any other players available, unavailable, or are you going to ship any out for another game time? Or
not 100% sure. I mean, as I said, Adrian Sear should be available. I mean, what that will mean is, if Adrian Sear and Gaia are available for Saturday, which we think they will be, then that means that by taking Ben out of the squad, that gives us 16, because we had Tom Moran, Adam Cornell, George Shaw, and Jake Parsons on the bench. By bringing in 2 and taking Ben out, that gives you 16. So we should be a strong 16, probably the strongest 16 that we've had for a very long time.
That's great news, isn't it?
Well, it is. It is good news for us. I mean, we've been harping on about injuries and whatever else, and just because we've won a game, it doesn't change the fact that we have been very unlucky with injuries. But if we can sort of get those boys back in, maybe Johnny the following week, then we ain't too. There aren't really any other injuries other than Summers and the 2 long-termers. And you can't really talk about the long-termers.
Yeah, but how is the long-termers going on? I mean, obviously Warren aside, with Fowler particularly, I know he's getting more excited. He's getting involved, getting in and around the balls a little bit. What's the latest with him?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Warren's. He's 4.5 weeks since he's had his op. He's up and about walking. He's due to be going back to work next week. Which is good from his point of view. He's obviously limping and whatever else, but we know he's out for the season. Whereas Fowler, he has been tremendous with the way he's worked on getting himself fit. He actually had his first slight setback at training on Thursday night. He was involved in all the keep ball. He wasn't being tackled, but all the movements he was doing were football related, as far as we're concerned, he could have been playing in a game. And he had a slight tweak of his hamstring, because obviously where the graft has been taken from his hamstring, that might be a little bit susceptible. And because he's gone from doing nothing to doing quite a bit in sort of five, 6 days. He just had a little tweak, and I think that just reined him in a little bit, because he's been so positive and thinking, well, maybe I could come back a little bit sooner. And at the end of the day, we can't afford to rush him, and we've got to listen to what the doctors and the surgeons say, and if that means it's January, that he's back, then so be it, and we want to make sure that he's properly fit and can come back into the squad.
Yeah, and the other person who we can talk about from afar is obviously Rummy's on his way back shortly.
Yeah, Rummy comes back on the 16th of November, which is a Sunday. So in between now and then, he only misses 3 league games. He'll come straight back into the squad. Now, the situation with Rummy is there's an outside chance he might be going to New Zealand. He's been sort of offered a professional deal over there, and that might be a sort of a year thing. We're not sure what the situation is. However, even if it's just for 6, 7, 8 weeks, we will take Rummy. It's no different than having a lone player, but it's somebody with great quality who can play in a number of positions. It might be that the New Zealand thing doesn't come off, and we'll have him to at least sort of mid-March again. Whether he's going back to America, we don't know. It's always a little bit up in the air with Rummy, but we're quite happy to sort of go on that basis and take him and use him for the period that we can use him for. So yeah,
I'm sure all the Rebels supporters will look forward to hopefully seeing him back in the amber shirt at Holloway soon. Moving on to Saturday, obviously we've talked about Banbury and what a challenge they'll be, a bit unknown but difficult to beat. What are your hopes for the game from a Slough perspective?
Well, obviously hopes for 3 points.
If it's one, is it the end of the world?
No, not at all. I mean, as I said, you go in. Listen, as a manager and as a player, I think you go into every game wanting to win the game, and anything other than win is a slight disappointment. They'll be the same, and we're the same. We want to win the game. We'll go there to win the game, but we know we'll have to work hard. What we need to do is try and get the same work rate and energy like we did against Hereford, and Corby and Truro. Those are the types of games where we've really dug in, we've worked hard as a team, as a unit, and that's what we need to do, week in, week out. And it's very difficult to replicate week in, week out, but we'll try and do it. We'll try and set them up to do that, and and as I said, so the hopes are for 3 points, but time will tell.
Well, we look forward to carrying on with that journey and finding out what time will give us on Saturday afternoon. Best of luck from all here and all Rebels fans wherever they may be, and we'll speak to you next week.
Lovely. Cheers, John.
Cheers.